Yeah, absolutely.
Good evening and welcome to the May 28th, 2024 Planning and Public Meeting. Members of the public were provided with the following methods to watch and or participate in this open meeting. Attend in person at the North Memphis Community Complex. You can attend electronically via Zoom to observe the meeting or to speak to an item on the agenda. Watch the live stream by accessing the meeting on the Township's YouTube page. And finally, if you've submitted comments to the Clerks Division, they have been provided to council and form part of the public record. I'd now like to call the meeting to order, and can I have the motion, please, Councilor Roman, and approval of the agenda?
Moved by myself, second by Councilor Williams, that council adopt May 28th, 2024 council agenda, planning public meeting as presented.
All those in favor? Carried, thank you. I would now like to do the Indigenous acknowledgement. We acknowledge that the land on which we gather today is the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee, the Anishinaabe, and Neutral people. We acknowledge the enduring presence of the Indigenous people with whom we share this stand today, their achievements and their contribution to our community. We offer this acknowledgement as an act of reconciliation with an Indigenous and non-Indigenous people of Canada. But they're only words unless we put them into action, and I had the privilege of being at a meeting this morning where the Indigenous stood up and did their Haudenosaunee Thanksgiving. Now, usually the Thanksgiving is about an hour to because they thank everything within the world, the earth, and the atmosphere. But this one didn't, but it was so well done and really made us see what we have and cherish so much from streams and fish and people and road. And they really can be our teachers if we walk alongside and learn with them. So let's stop and contemplate for a minute and hold. Thank you. Is there any disclosure between the General and Chair? Seeing none. Motion to sit as committee of adjustment, please, Councilor Tilly.
Moved by myself, second by Councilor Roman, the council meeting adjourned at 6:02 p.m. to sit as committee of adjustment for the purposes of holding public meetings pursuant to the provisions of the planning.
All those in favor? Okay, thank you. I'd now like to call the meeting to order and have approval of the agenda. Councilor Rose, please.
Moved by myself, seconded by Robert Owen, that committee adopt the May 2024 committee adjustment agenda as presented.
All those in favor? Carried, thank you. Again, is there any disclosure between any business or generation below? Seeing none. Can I have the motion to approve committee adjustment meetings, please, Councilor Roman?
Moved by myself, by Councilor Tilly, that committee of adjustment approved meeting minutes dated April 23rd, 2024.
All those in favor? Carried, thank you. Next, we have a minor variance and consent application, 6.5.1 PD-18-24 Roseville Road, in brackets A-01-24. Notice has been given in accordance with the Planning Act. The Deputy Secretary Treasurer will keep a record of all persons who provide comments on this application and those who register with the Police Department to request a notice of decisions. These individuals will be notified of a decision or the convening of future meetings on the application. There's a sign-in sheet at the back, so make sure you put your name on the sign-in sheet on whichever application you're here to seal. I'd now like to introduce Christina Brazil, one GIS technician who will present the application. Christina, please. Thank you, Madeline.
It's okay.
The following presentation is for minor variance application 801/24 for a vacant lot located on Roseville Road. The purpose of this meeting is to provide an overview of the proposal, to solicit comments and identify issues or matters to be addressed by staff. The property is located east of the intersection of Whistleburn Road and Roseville Road. The vacant lot has a frontage of 243.8 meters onto Roseville Road and is about 15.95 acres in size. Surrounding land uses are agricultural and residential. This property zones Z1 agriculture and designated rural area and protected countryside in the township official plan. The purpose of the proposed minor variance application is to seek relief from the general zoning bylaw to permit a reduced minimum distance separation, MDS1, to facilitate the construction of a single detached dwelling on the vacant lot. The poultry barn is situated on the adjacent parcel municipally addressed as 1056 Whistleburn Road and highlighted in purple on the screen, and it necessitates a minimum distance separation of 250 meters for the proposed dwelling. The subject property also contains a small wetland area along its road frontage highlighted in green. Due to the existing wetland area and the setback requirements associated with it, the residential dwelling is proposed to be constructed further inland from the road frontage, placing it within the required minimum distance separation of 250 meters. Therefore, the owner is seeking relief from section 6.29.1 of the general zoning bylaw, which establishes that no residential development located on a separate lot and permitted within the zone shall be erected or altered unless it complies with the minimum distance separation or MDS zone. The owner seeks relief from this provision to permit a minimum distance separation of 198.19 meters, which is a reduction of 51.08 meters from the required 250 meters setback. This photo is a view of the vacant parcel from Roseville Road, with the poultry barn visible to the rear. There have been no comments or concerns from any members of the public at this time. There are no objections from the Engineering and Public Works Department, Fire Department, and GRCA. Canada Post had requested that the owner reach out to further discuss mail delivery options for the proposed dwelling. Staff recommends that all comments and correspondence received from members of the public and government agencies through the consultation process be referred to staff for a future report to the committee on a disposition of this matter. Staff will be considering matters including all comments and correspondence received, whether the development meets the criteria before it passes. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. So any members of the public who wish to comment on this application? Seeing none, councilors. Councilor Tillman.
Just in regards to the property, is that my understanding is chicken coop is behind it? Okay. Sorry, is the distance intended to give that distance from the chicken and the orders that would come from that? Is that part of the there to?
Councilor Kelly, correct. So the calculated distance required for that poultry barn is to be 250 meters away.
Is there any known issues if it is within that distance? I mean, if the buffer is 250 and they're going less than that, is there going to be any known issues with doing that any closer? This is my question.
Go ahead, Ms. Black.
Madam Mayor, through Councilor Kelly, it's not uncommon where there's relief from minimum distance separation to have the owner has been registered on the title of the property, acknowledging that they are within the minimum distance separation of the adjacent, in this case, a poultry barn, and have them go with the title of the property. That way, if the property in the fullness of time were to be resold, the future owner will be aware of the proximity to the adjacent poultry barn, and that there can be on occasion odors or noise emitted from the poultry operation, and that's a possibility because of the for relief to the separation.
Meaning this is probably a separation of the property by the current owners for themselves. Is that the intent?
Madam Mayor, through the council, this is an existing legal lot of record.
Right.
Is eligible for a building permit. Because of the features on the property, that wetland area along the property frontage, it artificially pushes the residents closer to the barn than what would normally be accounted for if we were dealing with property that was open and bare. Because of the reduction on the 250-meter offset, because of the way the lot's figured and that wetland feature. Both the minimum distance separation criteria and our bylaw require consideration of the relief. One of the things that staff would do with the owner is look at, is this the most ideal location vis-a-vis the proximity to the adjacent farm operation? How does this relief affect the farm operation in its longer term? And that would be part of that future report back to that committee adjustment. One remedy, if there is relief granted, would be that warning clause on the tenant property. Certainly, the current owner, be aware of that, they're going through the minor variance process. This is more for potential future ownership if the property in the fall of time was resold.
Not unlike my own home where I live by the train tracks, and so we had to sign it. I think they knew where the trains people sometimes. But I've never heard of us waiting. I may be wrong, I've never heard of us waiting on the.
So, Madam Mayor, there was a subtle change to the provincial policy statement that actually requires compliance unless there's relief. Historically, lots of record were exempt from the minimum distance separation criteria because the premise was that they were already accounted for when the law was created. In this case, because of the reality of the wetland, because the provincial policy statement changed and lots of record are no longer exempt, they have to be assessed in the context of minimum separation distance. This triggers this application. We don't get a lot of new lots, new buildings in proximity to animal husbandry operations. Obviously, not here today, why it's the most appropriate vehicle is the community adjustment, seeking relief of the provisions.
Councilor Williams.
Through you, Mayor, to staff, I was just wondering a little bit more about the role of the GRCA in this, because I visited our wetlands. So are they okay with, like, I see that they had no comments. Was that with regards to just its variance, or was this with regards to the entire location?
So now, Mayor, through Councilor Williams, GRC's role in this is very, very narrow. It is specifically the future. So within the regulated area of the Conservation Authority, they're satisfied based on no comments that the proposed siting of where the home would be would not cause a negative impact on the adjacent environment.
No further questions. Can I have a motion, please, Councilor Taylor?
For one myself, like Councilor Williams, the PD report number 1824 be received, and that all comments and correspondence received through the consultation process be returned to staff for consideration in the future report to the committee on the disposition of this matter.
All those in favor? Carried, thank you. We will hear this speech several times, ladies and gentlemen. 6.5.2, PD 1924, 33 Northumberland Street, A-23/24. Notice has been given in accordance with the Planning Act. The Deputy Secretary Treasurer will keep a record of all persons who provide comments on this application and those who register with the clerk's department to request a notice of decision. These individuals will be notified of the decision for the convening of future meetings on this application. Christina Basil, Mayor IGIS technician, will present the application. Christina, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The following presentation is the minor variance application 802/24 located at 33 Northumberland Street. The purpose of this meeting is to provide an overview of the proposal, to solicit comments, and identify issues or matters to be discussed by staff. The property is located south of the intersection of Gibson Street and Northumberland Street. This property municipally addresses 33 Northumberland Street and has a frontage of 12 meters onto Northumberland Street and is approximately 475 meters square in size. This property currently contains a commercial building comprising of 2 commercial units. The property is Zone 6 urban commercial and designated urban growth center in the township official plan. This property is listed heritage on the municipal heritage registry, and the applicant is requested to waive the requirement of the SHIA. Planning staff will be bringing forward a report to a future council meeting to request the waiving of the SHIA. The property is currently occupied with an existing commercial building containing 2 commercial units. This property is undergoing improvements to introduce a new restaurant use into one of the 2 available commercial units. The township zoning bylaw requires that a restaurant use provide parking at a rate of 1 space per every 4.5 square meters of floor area devoted to public use. As a result, the required parking for unit 1 is 9 spaces. This does not include the required parking that will be associated with the future use within unit 2. As the property does not provide sufficient space to accommodate a parking area, the applicant is seeking relief from the bylaw to permit a restaurant with a reduced parking requirement. The applicant is proposing to provide 2 parking spaces along the frontage of the subject property immediately in front of the access to unit 1. 1 parking space is proposed to be a type A accessible parking space with a stall size of 3.4 meters by 6 meters. And the second space is a standard parking space with a stall size of 3 meters by 6 meters. The following minor variances are being requested by the applicant from the general zoning bylaw. Section 2.160 of the general zoning bylaw establishes the definition for off-street parking space, which specifically states that such spaces are to be located to the rear of the building line. The applicant is seeking relief from this definition to permit off-street parking spaces to be located in front of the established building line. Section 6.13.1b of the general zoning bylaw establishes that all off-street parking areas shall be situated to the rear of the building line. The applicant seeks relief from this provision to permit off-street parking spaces in front of the established building line. And lastly, section 6.13.5 of the general zoning bylaw establishes that a restaurant use is to provide 1 space for each 4.5 square meters of floor area devoted to public use, which equates to 9 total parking spaces for unit 1. The applicant is seeking relief from the parking rate to permit 2 parking spaces for unit 1, as the subject property is incapable of accommodating additional spaces within the boundaries of the property. This photo is a view of the subject property from Northumberland Street. There is minimal space in front of the building to accommodate parking. Planning staff note that the property municipally addressed as 35 Northumberland Street, located immediately to the north of the subject property, is under the same ownership. 35 Northumberland is presently a vacant gravel lot and provides an opportunity to support additional parking for the property at 33 Northumberland. Planning staff will work with the applicant to understand potential parking options using the adjacent vacant property and the ability to tie the 2 parcels into a comprehensive and integrated site. There have been no comments or concerns from any members of the public at this time. The township is still awaiting comments from agencies and departments. However, there have been no objections from the fire department or GRCA. Staff recommends that all comments and correspondence received from members of the public and government agencies through the consultation process be returned to staff for a future report to the committee on the disposition of this matter. Staff will be considering matters including all comments and correspondence received and whether the development meets the criteria of the 4 tests. Thank you.
Thank you. Is anyone in the, members of the public who wishes to speak? Seeing none, is there any members of council? Councilwoman.
Madam Mayor, just wanted to mention that at one point in time, that was a restaurant. That was Graham Bell's restaurant for a long time. But it seems to me that parking for the restaurant was at the second lot. So they want to resume restaurant usage. It seems logical to me that the parking lot would be 35.
Seeing none, now the motion is. Councilwoman.
Moved by myself, seconded by Ms. Bartley, that PD report number 19-2024 be received, and that all comments and correspondence received through the consultation process be returned to staff for consideration in a future report to the committee on the disposition of this matter.
All those in favor? Carried, thank you. 6.5.3, PB 2024-1820 Whistlebear Road, B-0623, B-0723, and A-1523, and A-1620. Notice has been given in accordance with the Planning Act. The Deputy Secretary Treasurer will keep a record of all persons who provide comments on this application and those who register with the Clerk's Department to request a notice of decision. These individuals will be notified of the decision or the convening of future meetings on the application. Michael Campos, Manager of the Planning, will present this application. Michael, please.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Good evening. I'm here today to present the planning staff's recommendation on consent and minor variance applications number B0623, B0723, A1523, and A1623 with respect to the properties located at 1820 to 1850 Whistle Bear Road. So the property is located at the northwest corner of Dickey Settlement Road and Whistle Bear Road, known as the Whistle Bear Golf Club. The subject property consists of two MPAC roads, municipally addressed as 1820 Whistle Bear Road and 1316 Dickey Settlement Road. The property has a lot frontage of approximately 569 meters onto Whistle Bear Road and is 92.3 hectares in size. The subject property is zoned Z1 agriculture and Z12 open space with site-specific exemption 20.1.218. And exemption 218 permits the golf course use. The property is designated open space in the town plan. Surrounding land uses consist primarily of agriculture, aggregate operations, and open space. And the campground is also located adjacent to the subject property. The subject property is a listed heritage resource on the Municipal Heritage Registry. And through consultation with staff, it was determined that the requirement of a capital heritage impact assessment was not required, as there are no proposed changes to the listed heritage resource and no new development is being proposed. The subject property is accessed through Whistle Bear Road as well as Dickey Settlement Road and consists of the following: a golf course, which includes a clubhouse and maintenance shop, golf cart storage building, municipally addressed as 1316 Dickey Settlement Road. A two-story single detached dwelling with a detached garage that is accessory to the golf course, municipally addressed as 1820 Whistle Bear Road, and a contractor's yard for regional sewer and water main, located west of the existing residence, municipally addressed as 1850 Whistle Bear Road. The use of the small contractor's yard was established through a minor variance application 30214. The contractor's yard, including vehicle repair, outdoor storage, and administrative offices, is limited to an area occupying 0.78 hectares and has a 137 meter frontage along the Bear Road. The use of the area for the contractor's yard, including vehicle repair, outdoor storage, and administrative offices, can only be utilized by Whistle Bear Golf Course and the business operations of the regional sewer and water. The detached accessory garage constructed in front of the residential building at 1820 Whistle Bear Road was also approved through minor variance application A1121. The detached garage is accessory to the golf course. The applicant has proposed to sever the subject property, creating two new lots. B06/23, which is lot 1, proposes to sever the existing contractor's yard from the golf course to create a new non-residential lot. The proposed severance would result in a lot frontage of 137.3 meters onto Whistle Bear Road with a corresponding lot area of 0.6. The proposed lot is highlighted in red. B0723, which is lot 2, proposes to sever the existing residential dwelling and detached garage from the golf course to create one new agriculturally zoned rural residential lot. The proposed severance would result in a lot frontage of 85.3 meters on Whistle Bear Road with a corresponding lot area of 0.41 hectares. The proposed severed lot is highlighted in blue. The following minor variances are being requested for both lots. Section 7.2.1, the general zoning bylaw requires a minimum lot area of 35 hectares for the Z1 agricultural zone. Lot 1 proposes a lot area of 0.78 hectares, whereas lot 2 proposes a lot area of 0.41 hectares. And then section 7.2.2 of the general zoning bylaw requires a minimum lot frontage of 230 meters for the Z1 agricultural zone. Lot 1 proposes a lot frontage of 137.3 meters, and lot 2 proposes a lot frontage of 85.3 meters. The following slide provides images of the two proposed lots. The photo on the top left is a view of the contractor's yard from Whistle Bear Road. And the photo in the bottom right is a view of the adjacent residential dwelling and detached garage that is accessory to the golf course. Planning staff have not received any comments from members of the public relating to this proposed application. Regarding the agency correspondence received through the circulation review period, comments provided from the Township Fire Department, the GRCA, and Engineering and Public Works were that of no concerns. The Region of Waterloo provided comments on the consent and minor variance applications, advising that the region was not in support of the proposed applications as they were not consistent with provincial policy and do not conform with the regional and local official planning policies with respect to lot creation. The building department provided comments with respect to a requirement for a future site plan application to be undertaken should the applications be approved. This requirement is to ensure that the site can accommodate required fire safety measures, mitigation of conflicts between the contractor's yard and the existing residential dwelling, and servicing. Furthermore, the applicant will need to provide confirmation of occupancy, washrooms, or the contractor's yard to ensure septic requirements for servicing the standard building. After thorough review, regional and township staff have determined that the proposed consent applications do not align with the provincial policy and do not conform to the policies set forth in both the regional and township official plans. The creation of new residential lots in the rural area is strictly regulated. It is only allowed when there is a second residence designated under the Heritage Act, which is not applicable in this case. Additionally, infill lots within existing rural residential groupings of 4 or more lots are permitted, but this condition does not apply to the current proposal as a grouping of rural residential lots does not exist adjacent to the property. Non-residential lot creation is also subject to specific criteria. It is permitted when creating new farm parcels or reconfiguring existing ones, neither of which are relevant here. Severing lands for agricultural-related uses or for conveyance to public bodies or nonprofits for conservation purposes is also not applicable in this situation. Similarly, the creation of lots for recreational, tourism, or rural institutional uses would not apply. Therefore, planning staff cannot recommend approval for the creation of a non-residential lot. Planning staff are committed to maintaining consistency in their opinions with respect to the policies associated with lot creation. Local planning legislation clearly delineates where lot creation is permitted and where it is not, and this proposal does not meet the required. Based on these considerations, planning staff recommended that the proposed consent applications be denied. According to the Planning Act, 4 tests must be met for a minor variance to be approved. In this case, the requested variances do not meet these tests. The first test is whether the variance is minor in nature. The proposed lot areas and frontages are significantly below the minimum requirements. For lot 1, the area is only 2% of what is required, and the frontage is 92.7 meters below the minimum requirement. For lot 2, the area is just 1% of the required minimum, with the frontage being 144.7 meters short. These deviations are substantial and cannot be considered. The second test is whether the variance is desirable for the appropriate development of the land. Variances are not appropriate given the existing land use policy applicable to the property. Notably, the accessory structure on proposed lot 2 is intended to support the Whistledown Golf Course, allowing the variance would detach the structure from its intended use, which is not desirable. The third test is whether the variance meets the general intent and purpose of the bylaw. The application fails to meet the Z1 agricultural zone's minimum requirements for lot area and frontage. The intent of the agricultural zone is to maintain larger lots for appropriate agricultural related uses, and this proposal does not align with that objective. And the fourth and final test for minor variance is whether the variance meets the general intent and purpose of the official plan. The proposed lot creation does not align with the official plan's policies for lot creation. Therefore, the requested reductions in lot frontage in the area are inappropriate. Given these considerations, planning staff recommend that the requested variances to permit reduced lot areas and lot frontages for both of the proposed lots be denied, as they do not meet the 4 tests of minor variance outlined by the plan. As such, the recommendation of staff to the committee is shown on the screen, that PD report number 20/2024 be received. And that consent application B0623 being a request to sever the existing contractor's yard from the golf course located at 1360 Settlement Road to create 1 new non-residential lot with approximately 137.3 meters of frontage onto Whistle Bear Road and a corresponding lot area of 0.78 hectares in size be denied. And that minor variance application A1523 being the request to permit a reduced lot area and lot frontage for the proposed severed lot located at 1850 Whistle Bear Road be denied. And that consent application B07/23 being a request to sever the existing residential dwelling from the golf course located at 1316 Bigby Settlement Road to create 1 new agriculturally zoned residential lot with approximately 85.3 meters of frontage onto Whistle Bear Road and a corresponding lot area of 0.41 hectares in size be denied. And that minor variance application A1623 being a request to permit a reduced lot area and lot frontage for the proposed severed lot located at 1820 Whistle Bear Road. That concludes the presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Michael. I believe David Ashton wishes to speak. David?
Good evening, Mayor Foxton and members of the committee. I do want to just. There we go, thank you. I do want to take an opportunity to point out a couple items here this evening. And Michael did a good job providing some overview with regard to what's existing on the site. So I want to just make a couple points as to what the request is tonight. And then talk a little bit about the policy framework, because we have a unique scenario where you have newer provincial policy than your official plan. So what I want to first talk about is what's being proposed tonight are two consent applications that do not create new development. They're essentially addressing technical matters of ownership for existing conditions. Previous approvals were granted that related to the single detached home and the existing contractor's yard. So the consent applications aren't creating any new landscape within the context of that area, and in fact, just maintaining what exists on the landscape. The surrounding uses in this context are a trailer park and a golf course. So, well, we talk about policies associated with protection of agriculture, prime agriculture, and farmland areas. What being proposed tonight, in my opinion, isn't offensive to those policies, because what is surrounding the subject lands are a golf course and a trailer park facility, and recognizing existing uses that have received approval. So I want to talk a little bit about the policy framework, and Michael gave a bit of an overview, and I acknowledge that the region provided comments, and I acknowledge what their recommendation was, but I think they have to look at their comments, because in their comments, they also talk about the provincial policy statement and the growth plan. And I'll just read them. Regional staff acknowledge that the PPS does include language that addresses development on rural lands, which are lands outside settlement areas, not designated as prime agricultural. And while policy permits residential development, including lot creation on rural lands, it must be locally appropriate. So there's a bit of a criteria there. Is it locally appropriate? I would suggest to you that it exists. Decisions have been made that created that condition. So it is locally appropriate. Those decisions were previously made. The growth plan. The growth plan also do permit development outside of settlement areas on rural lands. Development is permitted on rural lands that are locally appropriate and compatible with the surrounding rural landscape. I would suggest to you, again, locally appropriate. Decisions were made. Uses are there. It's entirely compatible with what's existing in the surrounding landscape. So what's being asked tonight is to create two lots that reflect existing conditions and minor variances that reflect existing conditions. The requests to reduce the lot area and the lot frontage are implementing what's there now. The intent wasn't to maintain those requirements, because that would mean that you would have lots that are created much larger than needed. And again, it's talking about agricultural lots. We're talking about existing conditions. So what I'd suggest to you is that the policy framework gives consideration for these types of lot creations. There's recognition that needs to be there with regard to existing uses. And the variances with regard to the four tests, the appropriateness of the land use, it's been decided. Those land uses are there. The conditions associated with the setbacks and the uses, again, those are there. So that's what I just wanted to share tonight, that there's policies in place that do provide some general direction associated with what's being proposed. And I think the decision tonight is one more I would characterize it as more of a technical matter associated with ownership, and not so much decision associated with the intent to create new non-farm lots behind agricultural areas or farm areas. That's not what is being proposed. And I believe that's what the policies are there to protect. I don't think the proposal tonight is offensive to those important policies that are in place to protect. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you. Would any member of the public wish to speak on this proposal? Seeing none, councilors, any questions? Councilor Fox.
Mayor, I do have a question, if you could clarify when you meet and prior decisions that were made, what specifically are you referring to?
Mayor Foxton, the prior decisions were the minor variance decisions that uses that are established on the site. So there was a minor variance to allow the contractor's yard to exist. The rural residential use wouldn't have needed a minor variance to use. But then there was a minor variance associated with garage. So those previous decisions were made that supported the establishment use.
No, I just wanted to reinforce that the comments are correct. There were two historic decisions from earlier decades of adjustment. And in 2014, the state regional sewer and water and granted status as a contractor member at that location. As a permitted use, as an expanded use of that property. And then the 2021 detached garage, which was deemed to be accessory to support the golf course. Was established to permitted adjacent to that residence, in front of the residence. And that was granted in that context.
Any other questions or comments? Councilor Tilly.
In regards to my concern, I guess, is because I'm not understanding how the residential property became part of this. I guess because I wasn't here before at this point, or it's not even mentioned at any point. Was there a permitted build of this? Was this here previously before 2014, or how? If I can get some feedback on that, please.
So Madam Mayor, through the council, the base zone classification, but the broader Wilson Bear Golf and Country Club property, allowed as a right as residents was expected. So it did not need any planning approvals because the base classification allowed that. So it's for the building permit application and the residents secret today with place.
So, Michael, if I may ask, the councilors, any other questions? Go ahead, Simon. Councilor.
And what is the current use of that residential property?
No, go ahead.
Sorry, that's being used as a residential property.
Rented out, or is it part of the use for the golf course?
It is part, that's just a question for me to answer just because of what's happening there. That residence is being used by a partner of the golf course ownership, my understanding. And that is part of the reason for the change is associated with some of the technical matters associated with how that is all being dealt with. So, yeah, I don't know any better way to say that.
Councilor Rose.
I'm not sure I totally understand what was happening with the garage. Why was that part of the golf course rather than part of the residential?
So maybe I can send some light going back to the year 2021. The ownership group of this affair development people wanted to create additional storage space to support the administrative function attributed to the golf course operation. And so their endeavor was to put it in proximity to the residents. They established total one property, including where the residence is today. No new driveways were created, so if you take a walk, there is turf stone coming off of the existing driveway to provide access to the golf course. Below the plate of the garage, above second story, you have storage for the golf course. The improvement was variance was to allow the ancillary building to support the operation of the golf course. And it was to be permitted in front, so the actual variance was to allow the detached structure to be built in front of the principal residence. It wasn't the actual use. The storage building was permitted as a right in support of the principal operation with golf course. Variance was to allow it to be built closer to the street than the residence. So the bylaw doesn't allow ancillary buildings to be built in front of the front elevation of the wall. That's how complicated it was back in 2021 and it was made section of 2024.
So, Michael, is this in the countryside then?
Correct, yes.
So, councillors, this is the protection of the countryside. This is allowed, this still on. I can't say it has been there for decades. But it also is allowed to keep its, but this is residential homes on the countryside line. Now, planning has been passed by the partnership to allow for 2 residential homes in the, farmland, countryside line. So,
The regional official plan. We're obligated to implement policies that align with the regional official plan. Regional official plan takes a very narrow perspective. Creation of new residential lots within the countryside, whether it's primary culture or rural. That's a very little difference in the way the regional official plan frames. So townships policy essentially mimics almost to the word the corresponding language. It's pointed out the provincial policy statement is a policy statement of the year 2020. Novel draft document that also reflected on 6 weeks ago. Policy statement of 2020 was the growth plan. Do provide a measure of flexibility. That was not to. So we have a policy. In the present time period, we take the narrow interpretation, not creating non-farm residential lots, whether it be in the primary culture areas or the rural areas.
so if I understand correctly, if we pass this, then we will be breaking up the laws that dominate the regional official plan as well as our own, which limits it at this. Which would put us in critical. So,
No, you are correct. We would be offside with the current policy regime. Regional official plan, local official plan. That was certainly the regional correspondence as well as a presentation before us. Council, committee, has the ability to make decisions. Committee has the ability to listen to material correspondence presented to it, with staff as well as me including all that. As it relates to appeal to the Ontario Land Trust, it is very narrow now because of other legislation. Provinces scoped within appeal matter to the. So in this case. As Bill 23 and nothing fully proclaimed, it would be the region. Commenting agency. Public entity. And the applicant. And or the keeper evidence. To basis behind that decision. Or sitting like the committee. Assess all relevant. Including, yes. Context in which the property is setting in which this. Competing land use activities. Changes. Area with.
I'm tempted to ask this question, and I probably will get myself, but I won't do this. Let's say 4 months down the road and the bill passes, would that be a totally different situation, say over here? Potentially.
So when the minister finally proclaims 2023 and the aspect of region no longer being an upper tier of planning responsibilities, Friendship Council temporarily will carry the 2 official plans, being the regional official plan as we know it today, and the local official plan. Where there's a conflict in policy, currently we do not have a conflict in policy as it relates specifically to the matter in front of committee. The regional official plan. Township Council has identified, set aside funds in your capital budget to do an update and rewrite of the official plan, create a new official plan that would blend, for lack of a better term, some of those macro matters that typically would be dealt with in the regional official plan, as well as what's called neighborhood and local identity, which is typically reflected in the local official plan, and create a new blueprint as to where growth would occur on what terms and basis, whether it's in the countryside or the urban areas. We will have to be consistent with language under section 3 of the plan. Any policies that council their new official plan. Be consistent with the official plan with the provincial policy statement. Council in the creation of your new official plan do not take as rigid a position as historic regional official. And may take into context some of those local unique circumstances such as presented today by the agent or the applicant to reflect some anomalies that are existent in any community that may not necessarily align specifically to one or more policies in your official plan, but maintain the intent of what's the forward information vision, in this case. So today, you may be in conflict. You may be in conflict for a short period of time while you're going through the exercise of writing a new official plan. But ultimately, council may chart a different direction in your new official plan. You've got those to take later this year and into.
So that's more than a minute. So what I'm seeing is that staff are following the letter of the law, which is their job. And they are to follow the letter of the law, regardless of what anyone wants to ask. And I believe this council still wants to protect the countryside. And so it's wrong, it's wrong.
Madam Mayor, my only question would be, what options are available to the applicant, rather than just reporting on this tonight and throwing this out, they can start from scratch in 4 months' time, as you suggested. Do they have the option to withdraw this or pause this or wait until these events unfold? see what happens at that point in time, or do they want us to go tonight? And then presumably be in a position where they have to start all over again in 4 months.
It's the only thing.
Madam Mayor, either the applicant and or committee may wish to defer the matter. If there's a deferral, you don't want to make it indefinite. So generally, there'd be some sort of time period understood. That may give the file status for return, but could be reflected on with new light and context, with new policies emerge. Or potentially new information. Yeah. That can be brought forward by committee. Deferred, and if the agent, the applicant, so doesn't agree with that, they have the right of appeal to the ORT. I don't know there's such timing and whether there's an element of urgency. That really isn't relevant to the committee. But that's certainly something that the public can put forward if their time is essence. They may look more favorable upon the official plan policy, but at this point in time, does that work out? Next, council has to sort of identify strategy or a vision. We're looking to the future for something that's not yet written or has stats.
That's nice.
So, from what I understand, there's been decisions made in the past that have kind of created a relevant situation that we're now in. Our current policy official plan does not favor this. And I thought of, I've had a number of conversations over the years with, so the time I've been here, that about people who've been wanting to add more residential lots. And I'm afraid that if we defer this one, they're gonna be like, well, we could just get ours deferred until such time as things are more favorable. So that I'd be very concerned about deferring this on the basis of what might happen, because there's gonna be a lot of people then who are gonna be like, well, I could have done that too. If I'd only known.
Deferral does not mean approval. You can defer something still true. It is not me. Right.
Right, but they could have gone ahead and gotten all the paperwork and everything done ahead of time, so they'd be ready to act on what decisions made in the future. I'm not sure that that's treating them fairly.
I'm telling you.
Just to debate that subject, I mean, this is new information, nobody would know about, so we're just acting with the information we have now. So we can't be held accountable for the stuff we're not know about at the time. And 2 weeks ago, the information we had was completely different from today. So I don't believe that anything we do, pardon me,
No, but this is consistent. The whole process has been in for a year and a half. 2 years.
So I'm hearing the consent policies go back to 2011 when regional council of the day actually adopted it. It was brought into force in fact, the official plan was finally approved by the mayor in 2015. But, the severance policies were not dealt with under Book 6. This has been a long-standing, narrow interpretation of future lot creation in the rural countryside by the region. It was a conscious decision to discourage rural development, to protect natural systems, and called the agricultural landscape, and direct future growth to settlement areas, whether they be rural settlement areas or the larger centers. That was a conscious decision. That was a very narrow in contrast to what was allowed.
maybe I misunderstood. I thought there was going to be not 5 minutes to that things were going to change. So that's what I misunderstood. Okay, so that's what I'm referring to. I'm not talking about what's been in existence but not working. I was talking about okay, sorry, maybe, I'd love some clarification. Thank you.
November 2022. Province adopted Bill 23.
This is planning 101. We're not charging money for this
And a
area.
key component of Bill 23 was certain regions that framed around the city of Toronto, in the greater Toronto area, were to be evolved as upper tiers without planning responsibility. So all the planning decision-making, policy documents will be conducted at the area municipal. The aspect that's related to regional planning in this future, the vast majority of Bill 23 was actually brought into effect. The issue related to demolition and waste proclamation. Bill 185, which is the second reading right now, at this part, identifies 3 municipalities where that aspect of Bill 23 will be implemented effective July 1. Peel, Alton, York. We don't know for sure the timing of the balance of the upper tiers. The mayor and I were in attendance at a meeting a week ago with the regional chair, mayor of Cambridge, as well as members of Waterloo Urban, and Minister Calandra was the speaker. He indicated that the timing for Waterloo region be the second one, will occur in September. My caution to council was, with the change of Bill 23, council becomes the decision-making body, and you have the ability to create new efficient plan policies. So if Bill 23, as it relates to Waterloo region, is proclaimed to be effective September 2020, still have current efficient plan policies. Council set aside money in their budget to be right and efficient, harmonizing macro level policies of the plan, your local efficient plan, your new vision statement, how you want growth to lead. You just have to be consistent with the prevention planning. Council may want to create that flexibility in the rural areas and still be perhaps very laser focused on primary. It's not going to be an instantaneous thing. You've got to go through the exercise, amending, updating your vision plan to reflect whatever that future is. All I was saying, and I don't know if that's going to be a future direction, but it might be. And these circumstances, right?
Absolutely.
Does the applicant have a wish to defer? Is that a question we can ask? Do you wish to defer? Is that maybe an intent of yours?
Thank you, Mayor Fox. I can't say it's something that we came into tonight thinking about a deferral pending potential change to official plans maybe at some point in the future. I think what we came in and the point that I was trying to make is if those future plans are needing to be consistent and conforming to the provincial policy, then I would suggest to you that provincial policy is providing policy opportunity for consideration of what we're requesting. So I don't know where a deferral gets us. I've been after Mr. McNeely was mentioning, I was trying to think about it. You know, if a month deferral gets us any further ahead, it's unlikely to have a new official plan in a month from now or any other decision. But what I do know is what the provincial policy says now. And what I do know is that the existing uses are there now, and they'll be there tomorrow, and that's not changing. And what we're changing is just the property lines between those in a technical ownership consideration. Not changing anything to do with agriculture, not changing anything to do with impact on agriculture. And the lands they're in the protected countryside, but they're not in the countryside line, which is clarified. But the protected countryside, is something a little bit different, but the lands are rural lands. And policy does allow for consideration of the request. So I appreciate the comment on deferral and the question. If your official plan was a month from now, I'd say, let's see. But I think there's a little bit more between now and when that actually happens. We'll wait.
So. Meeting should be. Based on their staff. By the letter of the law. It does not mean. Mandate. So can I have the motion, please, Councilor Brown?
Myself, and by Lee Wilms, that the report number 2024 be received, and that consent application B0623 be impressed to settle the existing contractor's yard, 1850 Isabel Road, from the golf course located at 1316 Dickey Settlement Road, to create one new non-residential lot of approximately 107.3 meters or 450 feet of frontage on Isabel Road and corresponding lot area of 170 hectares or 1.93 acres in size be denied, and that minor variance application A1523 being requested to permit reduced lot area and lot frontage for the proposed several lot located at 1850 Isabel Road B0623 be denied, and that consent application B0723 being request to sever the existing residential dwelling, 1820 Isabel Road, from the golf course located at 1316 Summit Road, create one new agricultural zone residential lot of approximately 85.3 meters or 279 feet of frontage on Isabel Road, and corresponding lot area of 0.41 hectare or 1 acre in size, denied, and that minor variance application A1623 being requested to permit reduced lot area, lot frontage for the proposed seven lot located at 1820 Isabel Road, B-0723 be denied.
All those in favor? Kevin, that's good, thank you. Next, we have 6.5.4 P-21-24, 1392 Ruby Road. Brackets B 0721 and A 1221. Notice has been given in accordance with the Planning Act. The Deputy Secretary Treasurer will keep a record of all persons who provide comments on this application and those who register with the police department to request a notice of decision. Those individuals will be notified of the decision of convening of future meetings on this application. Michael Campos, Manager of Planning, will present this application. Michael, please.
Madam Mayor. I'm pleased to present to you a public information report relating to consent and minor variance applications received for 1392 Gregory Road, file numbers B0721 and A1221. Purpose of this meeting is to provide an overview of the proposal received, to solicit comments, and to identify issues or matters to be assessed by staff as we move forward with the review of the applications. For the purposes of this public meeting, both applications have been consolidated into one report for efficiency as they are interrelated. Subject property is located on the north side of Wrigley Road between Leedsville Road and Dumfries Road. 1392 Wrigley Road provides a total lot frontage onto Wrigley Road of 42.7 meters, which is split between two sections that straddle the property municipally known as 1402 Wrigley Road. The longest stretch of frontage is 30 meters, while the shorter stretch is 12.6 meters. Subject property consists of one single detached residential dwelling and an accessory structure, as well as agricultural, forested, and wetland areas. Surrounding the subject property are primarily agricultural and rural residential lots. The subject property is subject to multiple designations under the township plan, including settlement residential and ancillary, rural area, and protected countryside. The property is split zone Z1 agriculture, which reflects the lands within the rural area and protected countryside designations, and Z3 rural residential, which reflects the lands within the settlement area. To provide some context, this application has some history in front of the committee, as there have been multiple proposals and lot configurations that have been presented in the past for consideration. In February 2021, the applicant submitted a combined consent and minor variance application to create a new lot. The proposed lot at the time was flag shaped and extended from Wrigley Road to the maximum extent of the rural settlement area, and further extended to the west to the rear of 1412 and 1420 Wrigley Road. These applications for consent and minor variance were denied by the Committee of Adjustment in August of 2021. In October of 2021, the applicant submitted an updated consent and minor variance application, which proposed a rectangular lot configuration. And through the review process, the applicant made a decision to revise their application to resemble the previous flag-shaped lot configuration that had been denied 2 months prior. A recommendation report on the application was never brought forward to the committee for a decision. Further discussions have taken place over the last 3 years between staff and the applicant, and has concluded with an updated application for consent that reflects a slightly new lot configuration, which is being contemplated at today's meeting. The applicant is proposing the creation of a rectangular shaped lot comprising of lot frontage of 30 meters onto Wrigley Road and a depth of 135.6 meters. This proposed lot can generally be compared to the existing lot at 1382 Wrigley Road. The proposal intends to create a lot that will both partially be located within the rural settlement area and outside of the settlement area within the rural countryside. The majority of the lot area would be located within the rural settlement area and would be capable of accommodating the future development of a single detached dwelling along with any accessory structures. The portion of the proposed lot to be outside of the rural settlement area is supposed to accommodate the future required septic system for a dwelling on the property. It has been mutually agreed between staff and the applicant that development will not be permitted to occur on the lands outside of the settlement area, and that future development should only be considered on the portion of the lot within the settlement. To ensure this restriction is maintained, the applicant will be required to obtain approval of the zoning bylaw amendment for the rural area portion of that lot, which will restrict development permissions. Staff plan to enforce this requirement for the zoning bylaw amendment through a future condition to provisional approval of the consent application should the committee ultimately choose to approve the proposed consent application. Should the proposed lot be created, the retained lot, being 1392 Wrigley Road, will have only one remaining access to Wrigley Road, which is located to the east of 1402 Wrigley Road and is approximately 12.6 meters. As a result of the proposed creation of a residential lot that will occupy the existing 30-meter frontage onto Wrigley Road, the applicant was required to submit a minor variance application to seek relief from the township zoning bylaw to permit a reduced minimum lot width of 12.6 meters for the retained lot, whereas a minimum lot width of 30 meters is required. The 12.6 meter frontage is located between 1382 Wrigley Road and 1402 Wrigley Road and is currently being used as the access to the subject property. The following slide provides 2 images of the proposed lot. Figure 1 is a view of the subject property where the lot frontage of the proposed lot will be located. The white arrow is a general identification of the length of the proposed lot. Figure 2 provides a closer view of the proposed lot being adjacent to the existing property at 1412 Wrigley Road. This photo actually shows the previous driveway that provided access to the subject property. And as I just mentioned, the access has since been closed, and the applicant has been using the 12.6 meter lot frontage further east as access to the property. Figure 3 identifies the proposed residential lot when facing Wrigley Road, and then similarly, figure 4 shows the proposed residential lot when facing the retained lot. At this time, planning staff have not received any comments from members of the public relating to these proposed updated applications. Any submitted correspondence received this evening or prior to a recommendation report being brought forward will be included with the final recommendation report for consideration. And regarding agency correspondence received through the circulation review period, planning staff continue to wait on various departments and agencies to provide their comments. However, comments have been received from the fire department, the Grand River Conservation Authority, and Canada Post, of which none of them had any objections to the proposal. So any additional comments received through staff and agencies will be included as part of the future recommendation report to the council. At this time, staff is recommending that no decision on the merits of the planning applications be made at this time, and that all comments and correspondence received through the consultation process be returned to staff for their consideration as part of the future report to council. Future staff report will consider matters, including but not limited to all comments and correspondence received during the consultation process. As prescribed by section 45(1) of the Planning Act, does the proposed variance meet the criteria of the four tests? Suitability of the proposed lot to be developed on the basis of private well and septic systems. The impact of the proposed development on surrounding properties. The suitability of the land for the purposes of which the lands are to be severed, including the dimension and shape of the proposed lot. Whether the development conforms to the intent of the official plan, and whether the general intent of the general zoning bylaw is maintained. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any members of the public wishing to make comments? Please call me, please. Thank you. And your name, please.
Good evening, council. Maybe the next one. My name is James Ball, I'm the owner. I'd like to call in there. First off, I'd like to recognize here, potential staff. Patience, wisdom, and surrender in this process. I am not an expert in any of these areas and ask for forgiveness that I had to learn many new things. I also have made decisions I regret in this process, and I'm truly sorry for the color of this process. My hope is that my neighbors, township staff, and council in general, can see our genuine desire to work in the process in a way that honors the people and our community. I believe we are presenting today represents a collaborative approach, hope and growth of the settlement. The biggest concern in our settlement area is the shallow groundwater and the subsequent shallow wells. To preserve and protect this shallow groundwater, the building lot we are proposing extends to a depth of 139 feet. 440 feet, identical to a neighboring property at 1382. This configuration allows us to put any proposed septic systems at the very furthest point away from any or the majority of shallow wells in our community. Our engineer in this hydrogeological report recommends this same placement of proposed septic systems. Furthermore, our engineer contrasts the performance of a conventional septic system versus advanced septic systems, recommending the use of an advanced septic system. We believe that the use of an advanced septic system will support both the growth and the preservation. The rectangular shape was also a consideration. Our proposal would be similar to many of the other residential properties in our settlement of Riverview, as many residential properties also extend past the residential boundary, making them both residential and agricultural zone. We believe that this allowance supports the placement of any future septic systems proposal and provides a generous lot size and fills up the residential area to be developed between 1402 and 1412 road. As we have approached this current lot configuration for council concern, we have also reached out via mediator to our neighbors at 1402, 1412, and 1420 road. We are currently working on a lot efficient application for each of these properties, extending their rear lot lines to the same depth as our proposal, which is approximately 1.1. Although this is not part of the application, we believe seeing the whole picture can be helpful and identifies the desire to preserve and grow our community. Each of these properties could achieve the same benefits as our proposal by placing the septic systems furthest away from the majority of shallow wells, further preserving the community's groundwater resources. Another benefit we see is the uniformity of depth. In summary, I am grateful for this opportunity to speak to you today, and hope you can see that our proposal is designed to preserve our resources while also growing the community. Thank you.
Public, any member of the public have any comments or questions? Councilors, any questions? Councilor Brown.
So, my first is more of a comment, just a thank you as well, to McDonald's for working with the mediator with your neighbors and trying to bring some peace to difficult situations. And thanks for everyone who's done that. And I know that one of the reasons for the support that you have is those consent applications that are coming. And I was just wondering, Madam Mayor, if we should make sure that they're all bundled together, to consider the efforts that the neighborhood made, with the mediator, to come to a good solution, as one. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Can I have a motion, please, Council Tilly?
Moved by myself, seconded by Councilor Wilms, that PD report number 2024 be received, and that all comments and correspondence received through the consultation process be returned to staff for consideration and future report to the committee on the disposition of this matter.
All those in favor? Carried, thank you.
From myself, and by Rob Rowland, that pursuant to the planning act, the public meeting of the committee adjustment 7:15 p.m.
All those in favor? Carried, thank you. Council Bowman, the video bylaws, please.
Myself and Council Bill, the following bylaws we read for the first and second time, bylaw number 3487-24, being a bylaw to confirm proceedings of the council for the corporation of Township of Dumfries at its meeting held May 28th, 2024.
All those in favor? Carried, thank you. Council Tilly, their video bylaws, please.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councilor Wilms, that bylaw number 3487-24 be read a third and final time, be signed and sealed by the mayor and clerk.
All those in favor? Carried, thank you. And the adjournment, please, Council Williams.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councilor Warren, that our business before this council planning public meeting has been completed at 7:16 p.m. That be resolved that this meeting adjourned.
All those in favor? Thank you. And you're very welcome for your education on planning 101. So thank you all and